Hey everybody, welcome back. This week we're going to take on an awesome song I've been dying to do for ages off of the Led Zeppelin II album called What Is and What Should Never Be. And we're going to go through all of Jimmy Page's fantastic rhythm and the slide lead and that great hard outro part. All right. Hey, if you haven't already, we'd love it if you can go down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell lets you know every single time that I drop new content, which I do every week. Let me know what you think of this one and give it a like. If you do, give it a thumbs down. If you don't, it's fine. And let me know in the comments what you think. Also, in all my videos, I've got jump links down in the description, and you can also see down on the horizontal red bar, you can jump to the part of the song that you're interested in if you want to bypass some of my yapping. All right, so What Is, What Should Never Be. This is off of the Led Zeppelin II album, but this was right in that period where it was, right after they released Led Zeppelin I. And I believe, best I can tell, this was recorded in January of '69. So that's why you see me holding this. I'm sure many of you are saying, Jimmy played a Les Paul. But to that, I would say, I don't think so on this song. Yeah, I think he recorded this before he got that Les Paul from Joe Walsh. So I think, if you sort of deconstruct all the history, he got his Les Paul standard from Joe Walsh when he was touring. Later in '69, I think it was like May, June, and that's when that started to happen. And I think this song was recorded in January. And if you listen to it, actually, if you listen to the tone of the guitar, it sounds way more like Led Zeppelin I, where he was using his Telecaster through a Supro something or other, and it was all modded out through a 112 speaker. That's really what this tone sounds like to me. So I'm going with Telecaster on this one. Okay, hold up. So I'm going to pause video editing here just for a second. Check this out. I went over to Wikipedia to actually look up, the song itself and what it had to say. Not that it's the ultimate source of truth. And right here, it says What It and What Shall Never Be. And one of the first songs that Page used his trademark Les Paul. Not so sure about that. So here's my kind of problem with that. Like I trust my ears, number one. And I know Jimmy had his black Les Paul Custom at this time. I know he owned that. That was in his arsenal. He for sure didn't have his number one or number two standard. Number one came from Joe Walsh when they were touring in around Ohio in, I think, May or so later that year. But more than that, I just trust my ear. That sounds way more like Led Zeppelin I. I'm trusting my ears on this one. But feel free to disagree. If anyone actually has evidence that says for sure that this was a Les Paul song, and it's credible evidence, maybe Jimmy himself writing that, let me know in the comments if you disagree. But, keep it civil. This is my opinion, but I'm trusting my ears on this one. Okay, back to the show. All right. So the first part, getting your tone. So I don't know if you could actually ever really get Jimmy Page's exact tone, but I'm going to do my best to come close. So legend has it that his Tele actually had a four-way switch on it. And the four-way switch on a Telecaster, when you do that, when you throw the switch all the way forward, what that does is it puts these two pickups in series. So normally it's all the way back is bridge, middle is these two in parallel, and this forward one is the neck. But I think he had that mod where he put it forward all the way forward to a fourth position, and it was in series. And I may be wrong about that. I was just at a Nashville Guitar Show and talking to a bunch of guys about this. That seemed to be the consensus opinion, but it's hard to find documentation on it. Plus, it was a '59 Tele, and it could have had the old wiring. Who knows? But I know he modded his guitars later on, so it's a good chance that he could have modded that one too. All right, so the first rhythm part, okay? First of all, we're in standard tuning. Now the rhythm part that he's playing over the verses, very delicate, very delicate. So to get the tone as best I can, I actually have my tone knob rolled back to about, I don't know, halfway or 6. And I don't have my volume up much because I want to roll it back to get the clean. I set my tone with the amp, and I'm going to roll it back to get the clean. Now what I'm using is, I'm using 2 things that I actually just bought. I'm using a Blues driver, which you can see what my settings is now. This is the modded Analog Man Blues driver. And I'm using the Analog Man equalizer into the front of my Tone Master Deluxe Reverb. I can't say enough about this amp, by the way. This thing, I've been able to dial up so much goodness out of that amp. It is one of the most versatile things I've ever played in. So, I don't know. There you go, Fender. There's your little commercial for that. But seriously, that sort of gets me very close, I think, to Jimmy's tone. If that translates or doesn't translate onto the YouTube sound compression, I don't know, but in the room it sounds a lot like it. All right, so to the part. So what's happening is he's doing an A, he's oscillating between an A, I think it's an A13, and an E7. So the voicing that he's doing is looking like this. You can see the chord over my shoulder. Here is the voicing of that chord. So I'm 5th fret D string, 6th fret G string, and 7th fret on the B string, right? And you kind of let that open, that string ring open. And what he does is he's pulling off with his ring finger. He's doing some of that. Oh, and take your pick. Your pick has a built-in tone control in it. And the tone control of your pick is to turn it to the shoulder. And that sort of darkens it up a little bit. You want to quiet down the attack on this, and that's one way that you can always do that without touching a knob. Okay, now he's going to jump to an E7, and you know, there's a couple, I gotta believe he's bouncing back between a couple different ways. So I'm going to show you a couple different voicings of the E7 that all work here. So the first one is the A13. Your basic E7 is this shape, which you're probably familiar with, and you also can pull off from your index. You kind of hear that going on. So again, the A. So there's a little bit of that. Another way you can do that E is not to go into the full E7. So you're coming from the A, and you just slide up to that. And you're sort of not playing the lower 2 strings. Now you can grab the high E, because you hear that. He does do that. You can hear that in some of those. So it's kind of like this, but you're not fretting the whole thing because it's kind of difficult to... kind of tough to do. And I sort of hear that. I'll put a link in here. There's a great isolated track of the rhythm guitar that you can hear, that someone posted on SoundCloud or something, and you can hear it. I think he's actually doing on some of those. All right, so the first E7 shape is this. Second E7 shape is this that I'm saying, and you can pull off. And the third one is you just, I think it's built on the second one, and you just add on, you add that E string on there, okay? So just sort of mix those up. But I think the consistent is the A13. Okay, so playing that nice and soft, you want to roll that volume back till you get that amount of clean that you want. All right, so then it goes into the, I guess it's the pre-chorus. I don't know what that is, but he's going to hit it harder. Again, I think he's staying on this bridge position, and on his Tele, it might be the series, you know, the one where they're both together playing in series. When you have those pickups and running in series, it's a lot darker. It's more powerful. You're hitting the front of the amp with a stronger signal, but it's darker sounding, is what that does. It sort of sounds like, that's why he gets all those great fat tones out of that Telecaster. I gotta believe there's some mod going on there. Anyway, so the next part. Okay, so I'm rolling up the volume. I'm not really going all the way. Tone control, I'm now going to the pointy end of the pick. Okay, so that's, you're sort of playing off of the 5th and the 4th strings only. Okay, that's the first one. The second one, you're going to do a pull off to a D. And the third one, you're going to start on the 4th fret on the D string, and again, pull off to the open D. Okay, so all 3 of those. Okay, and then what closes that off is a D to an A. Now, there's a couple different ways you can play that. I always played it the sort of Keith Richards way, because I just sort of hear this dark, hard, but he very well could have played it up here, you know. First one. Do it again. Here's the second way. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's one way, sometimes I think it's the other. I sort of alternate both. Now you're going to go to a B, and how I play it is your normal sort of B bar chord. And what you're going to do is pick up your index finger and you're going to walk it down. So the notes that happen over your B chord are B, A, and G sharp. All over your B note, your B chord, right? So it sounds like. And that's the strum pattern that I think works, the most, is you're going to hit it on a downstroke, and then you're going to hit the B chord on the upstroke. You're going to finish it off with an E to a B. So I think it mostly sounds right when you do just a straight up E chord back to a B, right? You know, if you did it the Keith Richards way, you would be on the 4th fret and you would do this. So both of those would work. Right? Or slide into an F sharp, A, and then a G pull off to an E. And don't slam it. You're still sort of quiet, right? You're not going there, right? And then roll your volume back, mute it. Now you're back to the top. Slide your pick. So that's the movement between the pre-chorus, chorus, and verse. I don't know what actually the chorus is on this song. So now let's talk about the guitar solo. Okay, so he plays a solo with a slide, and he's doing that over the normal sort of verse. A to E, actually all the way through, everything that we just learned. It goes one whole round through all of that with the slide playing over it. Okay, now to my ear, he's ratcheting up the volume, not all the way, not all the way. He's still back about eight-ish, I think, to my ear. But he's got a slide. Every time I see Jimmy play, he plays it with his slide on his index finger. I have way more control when I do it on my middle finger. So that's where I'm going to wear it now. And yes, that will be technically Jimmy incorrect. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on here. So the first chord is that A13, and it's going to land on an E7, right? So most of what I see, what's going on here is this is pretty much a solo 100% in E. He's going to start off with the phrase that he does one time through, and then he builds on that, augments it the second time through, right? So you want to hold the listener's interest as you're going through that. So one way you can do that is to just make something slightly different the next time that you do it. So the first time, he comes up here, and there's a couple ways that you can play this. I find it easiest to play it starting on the 9th fret on the D string. Okay, so that's sort of an E major pentatonic kind of thing, right? It's sort of like this thing. Right, but he's doing it with a slide. Okay, so dragging it all the way down on that G string. Now he's going to play it again, but I think he plays it in a different spot. The reason I think he plays it on that string is just it sounds a lot darker the first time around. Now you could play it another way, which there's an argument to be made that he could have played it that way because he's going to do it that way the second time, adding another note onto it. So that way to do it, again, is same notes, just jumping around, and you're jumping onto the B string on it. So now we're going to repeat that riff, but he's going to add some notes on there. And it's that same position we just did. We're just going to add on the G string together with the B string. Right? That's the second time around. Holds the listener's interest a little bit. Now I hear a tone shift when he goes up to the next part. I throw it back to the middle position. Yeah, when he goes up to that high E, if I was still on the front, still sounds great, but it just doesn't sound to my ear like it was on the record. So it sounds more like a middle position thing. It's almost like the Les Paul middle position sound, but not quite. Right? So that's that part. And then he ends this part of the phrase by okay. Then he launches into what is very much on the bridge pickup when you listen to that isolated guitar. So he's just building off of the A chord. Because remember, this is the part where it's going underneath. It's just A, right? So he's going to do one of these. That's all it's going on over that. And then when it goes to the B, same thing, is going to go up to the B. Right, so that's what's happening on that phrase. F sharp. So now we're going to play. And why does that work over an F sharp? It's part of the F sharp minor pentatonic scale, I guess. I'm going to sneak in back to our A shape. I'm going to sneak in on the D string at 14. Then we'll start from the 12 on the B string all the way down slowly. And start catching some of those lower strings farther down, right? So that last part again. Very cool. Love that. Okay, let's play the whole thing through one time slowly, okay? Middle position, 12th fret. All right, now the next phrase. Throw it back to the bridge, rock on the A. That's how you close off that. You'd go down one fret on the D string, and then back up to it. Up 2 frets to B. We're closing off over the F sharp. And the first note is on 17 on the B string. Pure greatness. All right, that's the solo. Okay, so let's talk about that great outro section where he is really cranking up the rock. You know, and it's that Jimmy Page Telecaster tone where you're like, I've never heard a Telecaster sound like that kind of thing. So dark and powerful. That's why I think he's running on that sort of series position where it's just darker, fatter, more power hitting the amp. But, you know, I've just got my pedal overdrive to approximate. I'm going up here on the neck pickup to sort of get that darker tone, maxing my volume. There's a couple little variations on here, but let me show you what the sort of heart of the riff is. So the heart of the riff is, you want to be on sort of like the 5th and the 4th string on fret 9. And you're going to hammer on 2 frets up on the A string and then on the D string. So it's going to sound like this. And then slide the whole thing over 1 string, right? And the same thing, down 2 frets. And then a big E, but don't go past the G string. You don't want that note. All right, again. So that's the main sort of heart, you know. From then on, he might hit that open E string on some of them, he may not in others. And then he's got the, right? Right, he just goes off. There's one variation I think that happens, and it's on the first sort of instance of the riff on the second part of it. So what I mean is he opens it with, and it's this one. He does, I hear this, I swear I hear that note, which means he's sort of doing a, sort of a Keith Richards kind of thing, you know, or he's pulling both of those off, or, which would be interesting, is if he did, if he pulled that off and hammered this one on, because that's what he's doing. He's hammering on, hammer on, hammer on. But if he goes backwards on this note, so it wouldn't be this, it would be something like that. But that note's in there somewhere. Actually, that would be super cool if it was not the Keith, the pure Keith riff. If it was, might be that. Anyway, on the record, he just does that one time, as far as I can tell. I don't think he does that every time. The rest of them is. And that takes you all the way out. All right, well, that's What Is and What Should Never Be off of Led Zeppelin II, released in 1969. This song was recorded, I believe, in January of '69, which puts him in Tele territory for what he's using. So maybe an unpopular opinion on YouTube. I don't know, argue with me. I think that's his Tele. Listen to Good Times, Bad Times. Listen to that tone. And then listen to this song. It's closer to that than anything he's doing on his Les Paul. But all right. So, hey, if you liked what you saw, love if you go down and click subscribe and ring the bell. I'll let you know every time I'm dropping new content, which I do every single week. And give me a thumbs up if you liked it. And let me know in the comments if there's another song you want me to do a lesson on similar to this. And maybe next week's will be the song you suggest. All right. Well, until next week, everybody, take care.